Most gardeners destroy their soil every season and call it preparing the bed. They dig, double dig, rototill, flip everything upside down, and then wonder why weeds explode, moisture disappears, and their crops struggle through heat waves. Every time you turn soil aggressively, you break fungal networks, collapse soil aggregates, and wake up buried weed seeds that have been dormant for years. Then you spend the rest of the season fighting the mess you created. I reached a point where I was tired of rebuilding the same beds every spring. That's when I committed to a cardboard sheet mulching system, and after running it across multiple beds for several seasons, I don't dig anymore. Not because it's trendy, but because it works better. If you're serious about growing food efficiently and you're tired of wrestling with compacted soil and endless weeds, subscribe to the Farm Logic channel. This is the kind of practical shift that changes how you garden long term. Here's what most people get wrong about no-dig methods. They throw down a thin layer of cardboard, sprinkle a little compost on top and, well, expect miracles. Then when weeds poke through or crops stall, they go back to digging. The technique fails because it's underbuilt. When I install a cardboard bed properly, I treat it as a soil building system, not just a weed mat. So let me explain how I apply it in a real backyard setting. If I'm converting lawn or weedy ground into a 4x8 bed, I start by mowing the area as low as possible. I don't remove the grass, I leave the roots in place. Then I lay down overlapping sheets of plain brown cardboard, making sure there are no gaps. Overlap at least 6 inches on all seams. If light can reach through a seam, weeds will exploit it. Before placing the cardboard, I soak the ground lightly. After laying it down, I soak the cardboard thoroughly until it's flexible and fully saturated. This step is critical. Dry cardboard repels water and slows decomposition. Wet cardboard conforms to the soil surface and begins breaking down quickly. On top of that, I apply compost at a depth of 2 to 3 inches, not half an inch, not a dusting. For a 4x8 bed, that's roughly 16 cubic feet of compost for a full 3-inch layer. Yes, that's substantial. That's why this method works. If compost supply is limited, I'll apply 2 inches of compost and then 2 inches of shredded leaf mulch or aged wood chips. The compost creates the initial planting layer. The mulch protects and feeds the system long term. Now here's what happens biologically. The cardboard blocks light, killing existing vegetation without herbicide. At the same time, it becomes a carbon source. Earthworms move up to consume the decomposing grass and cardboard interface. Fungal networks colonize the cellulose. Within 1 season, that cardboard layer is largely integrated into the soil profile. In my clay-heavy test plot, I installed cardboard beds in early spring and planted directly into the compost layer. By mid-season, root systems had penetrated through the softening cardboard into the native soil beneath. By fall, I could push a hand trowel into what used to be compacted clay with far less resistance. The weed reduction is dramatic. In traditionally tilled beds, I'd spend at least 2 hours every couple of weeks managing weeds. In cardboard-installed beds, weed pressure dropped by roughly 70% the first season. By year 2, it was even lower because the soil surface was never disturbed again. Now let's address a criticism I hear often. Cardboard blocks air and harms soil life. It would if it were plastic, but cardboard is porous and biodegradable. When fully soaked, it allows moisture exchange while still suppressing light. The key is not layering it too thick. 1 solid layer with overlaps is enough. Doubling or tripling it can slow integration unnecessarily. Another common mistake is digging compost into the soil after installing cardboard. That really defeats the purpose. The power of this method is layering, not mixing. Soil organisms do the mixing for you. When you dig, you interrupt that process. In raised beds, the technique is slightly different, but just as effective. If I'm refreshing an existing raised bed that's compacted or weed-infested, I don't empty it and start over. I lay cardboard directly on the soil surface inside the frame, soak it thoroughly, and add 2 inches of compost on top. Then I mulch. Within a month, worms begin pulling material down through the cardboard. Crops planted into the compost layer establish normally, especially transplants like tomatoes, peppers, and brassicas. Direct seeded crops like carrots require a bit more preparation. For those, I'll add an extra inch of fine compost on top to ensure easy root penetration while the cardboard softens below. Hydroponic growers might think this is irrelevant, but it's not. In systems where nutrient runoff drains into adjacent soil beds, cardboard mulched areas reduce nutrient leaching and erosion. I've used cardboard around outdoor hydro setups to create living soil zones that absorb excess nutrient solution. Instead of compacted mud forming around drain outlets, the cardboard and compost layer create a sponge-like biological filter. Now let's talk about moisture. One of the biggest improvements I observed was water retention. Cardboard mulched beds required irrigation less frequently. The compost layer stayed evenly moist and the underlying soil remained cool during heat waves. In midsummer, soil temperatures in cardboard beds measured several degrees lower than in bare tilled beds. There are trade-offs. Initial setup requires compost volume. If you don't have enough organic material, results will be underwhelming. Also, perennial weeds like bindweed can occasionally penetrate weak seams. In those cases, I cut them at the base and add another small patch of cardboard over the area. This is not a lazy gardener's shortcut, it's a shift in how you view soil disturbance. Once installed, I never dig those beds again. Each season, I top dress with 1 to 2 inches of compost and reapply mulch. That's it. No turning, no flipping, no resetting soil structure. Over 3 seasons, soil organic matter increased steadily. Worm populations visibly multiplied. Crop yields stabilized and in some cases improved due to consistent soil moisture and reduced stress. The biggest difference isn't just weed suppression, it's soil structure. When you stop digging, fungal networks expand. Aggregates form naturally. Roots move more easily through the soil profile. Nutrients cycle with less volatility. Instead of fighting your soil every year, you build it. If you're still double digging every spring, ask yourself whether you're improving soil or just managing symptoms of disturbance. Try converting one bed this way. Install cardboard properly. Apply adequate compost. Leave it undisturbed for a full season. Observe weed pressure, moisture retention, and root development. Compare honestly. I'll never go back to annual digging because I've measured the difference in labor, weed load, and crop consistency. It's not about trends, it's about results. If this kind of practical soil building strategy helps you grow better food with less wasted effort, subscribe to the FarmLogic YouTube channel and share this video with another serious gardener. The more we understand how to work with soil biology instead of against it, the more productive and resilient our gardens become year after year.